We have a solid story, solid art. Why are we not getting subscribers? Alright, so you guys have an amazing Viking themed webtoon. It's super high quality, but you feel like your work isn't gaining enough traction. So I took a deep dive into your webtoon to try and figure out potential blockers preventing you from gaining more subscribers. And I found two areas to think about, namely the thumbnail and the upload schedule. Your series actually has extremely visually pleasing art throughout. Oddly enough, so much so that I think I like your normal panels more than your thumbnail. I mean, the thumbnail's not bad, it's just not very eye-catching, you know? When I tried to find it in my subscriptions list, I had a really hard time, you know? So if you could kind of make it more pop a little bit more. Also, I don't know who that character is. I mean, we're quite a few chapters in and I'm not sure who that is. So, alright, I'm not quite sure if it represents your story accurately. So to remedy this, what I would do is create a couple different thumbnails and make a Reddit poll. I think that's a great way to interact and gain some exposure without being too in your face about the advertising. Now, let's look at the stats. So for the first few chapters, you have a solid 100 plus like count. And having a little more on the older ones is normal just because they've been out longer. But as you continue, this is right about where it really drops. So what I'm gonna say now is probably gonna hurt. So if you're doing this as a fun project in your free time, I recommend stopping the video here. Otherwise, take a look at this. This chapter, The Raid, it started in February and ended in July, which means you uploaded one chapter across the span of almost half a year in bite-sized increments. If you want to build a stable readership, this is the worst strategy I could possibly imagine. Try to put yourself in your reader's shoes. You found a series, you absolutely love it, it's amazing. The setting is awesome, the characters are charming, the art is fire. And then they give you this. It's 6 panels. I mean, sure, there were 6 bloody beautiful panels, but it's 1/5 of a chapter. Of course, we all have things going on, and nobody wants to be a jerk to the creator. So what I usually do in these cases, and what I suspect a lot of your subscribers are doing, is to just subscribe and forget. Let it sit. I want something substantial, but I also don't want to be a bother to the author. So I'll just, subscribe and then maybe check back in half a year or so. On the other hand, if I know that every week, rain or shine, I am going to get my weekly dose of this amazing story, I'll be much more likely to commit my time into reading it. I'll check back consistently, you'll become a part of my routine, and we'll develop a much closer relationship. Now listen, I don't know in what capacity you guys are creating this webtoon. If it's just a hobby, then, disregard all of this. Any small amount that you can give us would be absolutely fantastic. However, from our brief conversation, I got the impression that you're quite serious about it and you genuinely want to have more of an audience and more exposure. So if you are open to kind of reorganizing things a bit or, changing up your habits going forward, well, here's what I would do. Well, number 1, aim to release consistently on a weekly schedule. It's so beneficial for gaining a stable returning following. Now, in order to do that, I would go on a hiatus. And while you're taking that break, build yourself a buffer. Draw, let's say, 3 to 4 chapters, enough for maybe a month or so, and release them weekly, one by one. This way, if you decide to switch to a weekly schedule, at least you will have that little leeway, that buffer zone for when you have other commitments. Your uploads won't be interrupted. And then aim for every chapter to be roughly the same panel count or same story development. Just make sure your audience always feels like it was a good, substantial bite of that dessert, Lastly, I hope I wasn't too harsh. It's easy for me to say all this, just sitting at home doing nothing, but I have a lot of respect for you guys. I think it's just so difficult to create a webtoon, and you guys have been rocking it, honestly. So, yeah, I wish you guys all the best. And also, can you please do some art tutorials, man? I love your lines. They're so smooth. Anyway, thank you. Have a great day. And you've just given me my favorite dessert. You put it on the table and you told me, okay, you can have 1 spoonful a day. Why you do me like that?